In the 5th year of my marriage to Alexander, he brought his best friend's wife home. Grace, Jacob died because of me. I must take care of her. In the dead of night, I was racked with abdominal pain and asked him to check my pulse. He told me to bear with it. Lily is timid, and Nico is crying. I'll go and check on them first. He didn't return that night. Lying in bed, having just lost my child, I heard Lily say that Alexander would be a good father. I calmly smashed the token of our love and handed him the divorce papers I had long prepared. Alexander, let's get a divorce. I'll make way for her. Everyone in the capital knew that Alexander loved his wife to death and feared her like a tiger. We had been married for 5 years and had no children. He was the only son of his family, and an heir was of utmost importance, yet he had flatly refused to take a concubine because of my wish for a monogamous life. Grace, you are all I need, even without children. I only want to be with you, to guard our home. How could I not be moved by such devotion? In the 5 years of our marriage, I had tried countless folk remedies, drunk endless bitter medicines, and endured countless needles. It was painful, it was bitter, but for him, it was all worth it. He was a 4th-rank official, his duties extremely demanding, yet he would always bring me my favorite date paste pastries when he came home. Knowing I loved tea, he traveled 1,000 miles to the south to buy a tea plantation for me. Fearing I would be bored at home, he, regardless of his status, personally built me a swing, and fearing I would catch a cold while playing, he repeatedly instructed the servants to bring me more clothes. Every single one of these actions told me, again and again, that he loved me deeply. I knew his love was not an act. He truly did love me. But he could also take care of another man's wife, be another man's son's father, and even give her a title. On the Lantern Festival, my husband went out with someone else. I could neither be angry nor dissatisfied. I even had to see them off with a smile. They had a wonderful time, eating at the Wishful House, a place I had longed to go to, and I could only stay at home drinking bitter medicine. Frustrated, I took Flora and went to inspect my shops. Miss, the master is really something. He won't go out with you, but he'll accompany Mrs. Jacob and her son. Flora complained on my behalf. Before I could defend Alexander, I heard Lily's voice from a short distance away. Alexander, I am tired. Can you hold Nico for me? You little fatty, have you gained weight again? Alexander stood beside Lily and her son, all 3 of them smiling happily. It didn't look out of place at all. They really looked like a family of 3. Hemph, I don't want mommy, daddy, hold me. The word daddy made my head explode. Miss, Alexander heard Flora's voice and turned, seeing my panicked expression. He walked quickly towards me, holding the child. You are not feeling well. Why did you come out? Your hands are so cold, you should have worn more. He held my hand, his voice anxious. I hadn't recovered from the shock of hearing daddy. Then I heard Lily's gentle voice. Sister Grace, Alexander just said you were resting at home because you were unwell. You must be feeling better now. Would you like to join us? This conversation gave me a bizarre sense of role reversal, as if she were Alexander's wife, and I was just an oblivious outsider. Lily continued. It is the festival today. Alexander is with Nico, lighting lanterns. You should come too. Before she could finish, I turned and walked away. I was afraid that if I didn't leave, I would do something irreparable. Alexander grabbed me, his brow furrowed, seemingly confused as to why I was angry, why I was ignoring him. Seeing my determination to leave, he only had time to tell Flora to take care of me. The Lily of today was a complete stranger to me. Yet it had only been a year since everything had happened. How times had changed. Lily's husband was Jacob, Alexander's best friend. He had died a year ago, suddenly without any warning. That day was like any other. Jacob had invited Alexander to a restaurant for a meal. Alexander, wanting to bring me back some pastries, had left early. Jacob was still in high spirits, but just half an hour after Alexander left, Jacob had a sudden heart attack and died. This plunged Alexander into extreme self-blame and self-loathing. It was just a matter of an incense stick's time. If I had just stayed, I could have saved him. Alexander was an imperial physician. He believed he could have saved Jacob. But on that particular day, he had left early. The pain nearly consumed him. I couldn't bear to see him like that. So when Lily, having lost her husband, sought help, I agreed to let Alexander go. That was the first time. 2 months after Jacob's death, Alexander didn't return until late at night. He looked exhausted. When he saw me, he said, "I am so tired. Nico has so much energy. He is so young, but he is a little monkey when he acts up. By the way, something really funny happened today." Alexander excitedly told me all about Nico, like a father eager to show off his son. I watched him quietly when he received no response. "What is wrong? Are you angry?" I asked. "Is there nothing else you want to tell me?" If I could hear his thoughts, he would probably be thinking, "What is it now? If you want to ask something, just ask." My already unhappy mood soured even more. "Alexander, why does Nico call you Daddy?" Alexander rubbed his temples in frustration. "He misses his father. He asked if he could call me Daddy for a day. How could I refuse? No explanation, no comfort, no guilt." He threw the problem back at me, as he had many times before. Alexander and I parted on bad terms. I sent him to the study. He tried to talk to me several times on the way, but I refused. Finally, he got angry too, and went to the study with a cold face. Lily was known to be overly sentimental, the kind of person who would cry at the sight of fallen leaves. Jacob had doted on her, and everyone knew he loved his wife to death. After Nico was born, Jacob, grateful for her giving him an heir, was even more considerate and gentle. He had spoiled her into helplessness. Jacob was an only son, with no living elders. Lily couldn't manage the entire household on her own. Alexander taught her, but she said, "It is so hard." Alexander sighed. "Then, if you have any problems with the household in the future, you can come to me." Lily liked pear pastries. Every time Alexander bought pastries for me, he would get a portion for her. "Can't she send someone to buy them? It is on the way." The wooden furniture in her house was broken. Lily didn't know what to do. She can hire a carpenter. She is a widow with a child. It is not safe to let a strange man in. Once, Alexander and I were in our room, being intimate. We were both in the mood when Lily sent someone for him. "Nico is throwing up. What should I do, Alexander? Help me." Without a second thought, Alexander got dressed and left, not even bothering to pull the covers over me. It turned out Lily had fed Nico some spoiled food. A 3-year-old child vomiting and with diarrhea. Alexander was at her beck and call, shouldering Jacob's responsibilities. I knew he was trying to compensate, but the process was making me more and more uncomfortable. A hurdle I couldn't seem to get over. The next day, I decided to have a serious talk with him. I personally cooked some porridge. I hadn't brought him food in a long time. Not because I didn't want to, but because our conflicts had been escalating. At the study door, the page boy's eyes widened when he saw me, and he stammered. I didn't think much of it at first, but when I pushed open the door, I finally understood. He thought I was here to catch them in the act. Lily was curled up on the couch, her shoes and socks off. She was holding a book, and my personally sewn robe for Alexander was covering her legs. On the table was a half-eaten plate of pear pastries. My face changed instantly, my hand on the door trembling. "Sister Grace, you are here. Come in. Do you want some pear pastries?" Alexander bought them for me. He was afraid I would be hungry. Lily has been in a bad mood lately, and she tends to overthink things at her own home. She just wanted me to have a meal with her and keep her company. I couldn't refuse. This was the explanation I got after waiting for an hour. I was becoming less and less sure of where Alexander's boundaries were. "Tode, you can bring her to the study tomorrow. Will you bring her into the estate? The day after, should I just give her half of my bed?" Alexander frowned. "What are you talking about?" I sighed. "You asked me before if you could have some time to handle this properly. My answer was, no." I stood up to leave. but he grabbed my hand. "What do you mean, Alexander? Either you stay away from Lily, or we get a divorce." His eyes blazed. "You have to push me like this." I raised my voice. "I am pushing you. You said you wanted to buy them a large house and a few shops." I agreed without batting an eye. "For the past 6 months, we've had enough conflicts because of her. What more do you want from me, Alexander? I've tolerated enough. It is time for you to make a choice." "I don't understand," Alexander roared. "Jacob is gone. I am just trying to help her. Why is that so hard for you to accept? There is nothing between us. Why are you making such a big deal out of it?" I fought back tears looking at him with disappointment. I never knew he could be so deliberately obtuse. "Let go." Alexander's face was cold, his grip on my hand tightening. I felt a wave of nausea. I said, "Let go." In the struggle, I finally turned my head and vomited. Alexander held me anxiously. "What is wrong? Are you not feeling well?" I gasped for breath, my words venomous. "I am fine. It is just that what you said made me sick." His hand on my shoulder tightened, hurting me. Alexander and I entered a cold war, but he seemed to have changed. He was still busy, but he would rush home every day after court. He spent more time at home, no longer going out late at night, and no longer making little toys for Nico. But I didn't feel any happier. A heavy weight seemed to be pressing on my heart, and sometimes I would feel so breathless I could hardly breathe. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I am not an overly emotional person. Otherwise, I wouldn't have indulged Alexander time and time again. But Lily had managed to push me to this state. She was truly skilled. One day, I was sitting on the swing, feeling dejected. Alexander came up from behind and hugged me, burying his face in my neck. "Don't be angry with me anymore. I'll change," he said, his voice muffled. He said he wouldn't let Lily in his study again, that he wouldn't help her with her affairs, that he wouldn't go to her house alone. And if he had to, he would take me with him. He promised he would make Lily disappear from our lives. So, when Lily sent for him again, saying she had a rash all over her body and didn't know what to do, I went with him. Lily opened the door quickly. She was wearing a thin, sheer robe. When the wind blew, it clung to her body, revealing everything. Before I could react, she had wrapped her arms around herself and screamed, as if I were the one she needed to be wary of. I pulled Alexander away, my face cold. "How many times has this happened?" "What do you mean? Her wearing so little in front of you. How many times? I am just here to help. Why do you have to make it sound so sordid?" "So it was my fault for being sordid. Alexander, let's get a divorce." "What? I suddenly feel like you are a bit dirty. I don't know when it started." In the end, Alexander didn't examine her himself, but he did find a doctor for her. "See, how easy." We returned home in silence. "Grace, let's talk," Alexander said. I shook my head. I was too tired, a deep exhaustion from within. Another day, I slept fitfully. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by a sharp, drilling pain in my stomach. It was so intense I broke out in a cold sweat. "Alexander," I murmured, not even sure if I was making a sound. Just then, he rushed in. In my agony, I didn't notice he was already fully dressed. I grabbed his hand. "Alexander, my stomach hurts, please. Check on me." But he cut me off. "Your stomach hurts, Grace? Bear with it. I'll be back to prescribe something for you in a moment. There is a toad in Lily's bed. Nico is terrified and having nightmares. I have to go. Alexander, don't go." At that moment, I didn't know how serious it was. I just had a feeling I needed a doctor immediately, but he pushed my hand away. "Be more understanding. Nico is Jacob's only child. Must you compete with him?" With that, he left without a backward glance. He ignored my pale, ghost-like face, my desperate pleas. My heart sank. I screamed. Flora heard me and rushed in. She lifted the covers. A sea of red. In the end, it was Flora, who, crying, dragged a doctor from his clinic in the middle of the night. I had a miscarriage. My first child, who had come and gone without a sound. I asked the doctor for the reason. He advised me, It was caused by excessive worry. You must rest well, and above all, avoid sadness if you wish to conceive again. So that was it. But he didn't know how difficult it had been for this child to come. I fell into a deep sleep, waking a few times. Alexander was still not back. When I opened my eyes again, he was standing by my bed, his face haggard. His eye, Grace, it is okay. We can have another child. I pulled my hand away coldly. Alexander, let's get a divorce. His face twitched. Grace, it was my fault. I was wrong. I didn't know it was so serious, Grace. I am begging you. Give me one more chance. Alexander, let's get a divorce. I'll make way for her. Alexander refused to divorce. After that day, he cared for me with meticulous attention, doing everything himself, even taking a leave of absence from his post. I accepted his care calmly. I had lost his child. It was his duty, and he was an imperial physician. He knew how to take care of someone. It was during this time that I learned he could cook. But he hadn't learned for me, and the first meal he cooked was not for me. He talked to me a lot. He begged for my forgiveness. He said he would change. He said he would no longer have anything to do with Lily, that he wanted to live a good life with me, but I had lost all desire for that. A person doesn't give up until the last straw. Why didn't he leave sooner, when he knew it would come to this? Because there were feelings. And until those feelings are completely worn away, how can one be willing to leave? Now, not a single shred was left. I calmly smashed the jade pendant that was our love token, and handed him the divorce papers I had already written. He was dejected, in pain, helpless. It was at this time that Lily came to see me. She said she wanted to talk. So, while Alexander was brewing my medicine, I had her brought to my room. Lily had always been beautiful, with a flower-like face and fair, delicate skin. The goose-yellow jacket she wore made her look even more charming. She said, "I am sorry you lost your child." I burst out laughing. "If you say that, then I should report you to the authorities." Lily's face stiffened. "If you have something to say, just say it. Your time is limited." After a long silence, Lily spoke. "Give Alexander to me. I can't live without him. I am not like you. You are the eldest daughter of the Shu family, with your family's support, but my family has fallen, and there is no one to support me in the Qian family. I also have a child. Only Alexander can take care of us." I didn't understand her. Her family was a scholarly one. Before she was married, many men had vied for her hand. Why had she become so dependent? Of course, that was not my concern. I looked her up and down. I have already proposed a divorce to Alexander. He is the one who refuses. It seems you'll have to work a little harder if you want to rely on him. Lily left, after Alexander returned. I brought up the divorce again. He just glanced at me, pretended not to hear, and went to the kitchen. A divorce is not an easy matter, especially for me who had always been a model of virtue. And the Shu family would not allow a divorced woman to return, to tarnish the marriage prospects of the other sisters. But the most anxious person right now was not me. Thinking of this, I relaxed. Alexander was probably pushed to his limit. He, who had not left my side, asked for a day off. "A colleague is having a housewarming party. Do you want to come with me?" I turned a page of my book. "Then I'll just go for a bit and come back." "Fine." With that, I focused on my book. But after I finished a page, the person standing beside me hadn't moved. I looked up, confused. "Is there something else?" Alexander's face was grim. He forced a smile. "Is there anything you want to eat? I'll bring it back for you." "No need." "Then I am going. I'll be back soon." He wanted me to give him a few instructions, to tell him not to drink, to come back early, like I used to. But he hadn't noticed that I had stopped doing that when he started leaving early and coming back late for Lily. At the time, it wasn't that I was so detached, but more that I was angry. My pride wouldn't allow me to be subservient. I had put on a magnanimous front, playing the role of the virtuous wife again and again. But Alexander had never once guessed what I was truly thinking, had never seen my sadness and disappointment. We were walking hand in hand, but his attention was drawn elsewhere. I pulled away, trying to get his attention, but he never once looked back. I watched him walk further and further away, disappearing into the crowd. Finally, I had had enough disappointment and turned to leave, but he suddenly regretted it and wanted me to be the same as before. But my heart was already broken. Was I sad? Yes. But more than that, I felt a sense of loss. Alexander came back very late. I heard him open the door. I thought he had left the room and was about to get some water when I saw him sitting quietly in a chair. I was taken aback. He looked up and saw me, immediately composing his vulnerable expression. He smiled. "What is wrong? Are you hungry?" I said. "I am thirsty." I was about to pick up the teapot on the table, but he stood up. "The water is cold. I'll go and boil some more." "Don't bother. It is fine. It won't take long. Just a moment." "Really? Don't. It is really fine. Just wait." "Alexander," I called out to him. "I am not drinking it." But he stumbled over, bumping into a table on the way, and letting out a muffled groan. He grabbed my hand. "Grace, I don't understand. How did it come to this?" He reeked of alcohol, his voice hoarse, his hands trembling. "Grace, am I really so unforgivable?" My nose tingled. I looked up at him. "The day I had the miscarriage, you were at Lily's house, comforting her, helping her with her son. Lily said you would be a good father. Do you know what I was thinking then? I was relieved that the child was gone." A sob escaped Alexander's throat. After the miscarriage, I had never talked to him about the child. We couldn't. He was gone before we even knew he existed. 5 years. We had looked forward to his arrival so much. "Alexander, have you ever thought about what would have happened if I hadn't lost the child?" Alexander was silent. I continued. "I probably would have forgiven you. You didn't make a fundamental mistake. You didn't actively pursue someone else. You felt sorry for her. But in the end, it was for Jacob. And we would have had a child. Things would have gotten better. That is probably what I would have told myself. And that would have been the beginning of an abyss. No, it wouldn't have. I was so looking forward to him. It is all my fault. Grace. I am sorry. I am sorry to you. Sorry to the child. It is all my fault. Alexander, if our child had been born, and Nico and our child were both sick at the same time, who would you have seen first?" "I would definitely..." Alexander was desperate to give me an answer. I cut him off. "You would have seen Nico first because he is Jacob's only child. You might have felt guilty towards your own child at first, but you would have thought, he is my child. I have a lifetime to be good to him, and then, gradually, you would have lost even that initial guilt. Everything would have become a matter of course. He has a father. He doesn't. Can't you just let him have this? He is already so pitiful. Do you have to fight with him? You are already so happy. Why do you have to be so selfish? A child who clearly has a father, but it is as if he doesn't. Just like me, I clearly have a husband, but it is as if I don't. I wouldn't. How could I?" Alexander shook his head helplessly, his words pale and weak. I looked at him. "You wouldn't. Then why have you been treating me like this?" Alexander's face was ashen. "Grace, I'll change." I nodded. "I believe you, but I don't dare to bet on it." How long would the memory of a miscarried child last? A month, 2? A year? He would definitely change. If he wouldn't be human. But as long as Lily was there, as long as her child was there, all the problems would still be there, unresolved. He couldn't bring himself to be completely indifferent. It would just be another vicious cycle. Compared to a sudden epiphany, I believed more in repeating mistakes. Lily sent me another letter. "You will get a divorce, won't you?" I frowned, not wanting to bother with her, but in the end, I couldn't help but reply. "Be a decent person. Think of your son." If I wanted to, her actions would have already ruined her reputation. Alexander swore to me that he would have nothing more to do with her. Lily came to see him every few days but was turned away. His attitude panicked her. A few days ago, Nico had a high fever and was almost delirious. I heard Lily took care of him personally, without sleeping. But she didn't know how to take care of people. She couldn't even take care of herself. The fever didn't break for 2 days, and several doses of medicine had no effect. Alexander couldn't bear to see him suffer and went to see him himself. Lily knew this was her only way to get close to him again. She sent someone to let me know. What she wanted was obvious, but I didn't think she would act so quickly. Alexander didn't come home on time that night. Near midnight, Lily sent a maid to tell me that she and Alexander had slept together. In that moment, I had only one thought. Of course. I waited for Alexander all night. The next morning, I opened the door. He was leaning against the wall. I didn't know how long he had been there, but the empty wine jars on the floor told me it had been a while. He looked up at me and forced a pained smile. "Grace, are you hungry? What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you." I shook my head. "You are wrong. You should have said, 'Grace, let's get a divorce.'" He looked as if he would collapse. I was silent. He took a sharp step forward, wanting to grab me, but I backed away. He froze, his voice weak. "I was drunk, Grace. I didn't want to. I was just drunk." I was tired of his self-deception. "Alexander, you are a doctor. No amount of alcohol can force you to do something you don't want to do, and I don't believe in drunken mistakes. I only believe in giving in to temptation." Alexander clenched his fists. "You did it on purpose, didn't you?" "What?" "Lily told me about your conversation. You just wanted her to do something. You were waiting for me to make a mistake, weren't you? When disappointment reaches its peak, a person can actually laugh. So, you were bound to make a mistake if I just waited. I am glad I didn't forgive you." Alexander and I divorced. I took all my dowry and the compensation he gave me. He only had one request. "Grace, don't hate me." I was non-committal hate. It wasn't such a strong emotion. I rented out my house in the capital and moved to a villa in the suburbs. I burned the clothes I had made for him but never given him. I changed the bedding. He liked dark colors, but I preferred light ones. A few of his medical books were mixed in with mine. I thought about it and had someone send them back to him. I gathered all the gifts he had given me and pawned them. I slowly erased all traces of him from my life. This process brought many tears. After all, he was my childhood sweetheart, the man I had married. None of this was difficult. The hardest part was our parents. We had divorced quietly. By the time they found out, it was too late. His mother and my mother both came to me in tears. One scolded me for being impulsive. The other scolded her son for being a fool. I explained the situation to them, but I omitted the part about him sleeping with Lily. It was a matter of dignity for both of us. But Lily didn't want dignity. She forced her way into his family. She said either he married her, or she would tell everyone about their affair. Alexander's mother was so angry she fell ill. The family was in chaos every day, but it had nothing to do with me. My life went on. In the end, Alexander took Lily as a concubine and moved out of the old family home. That was his mother's bottom line. There was no grand procession, just a small sedan chair. But everyone who needed to know knew, and the gossip started. Some said Alexander's intentions were never pure from the beginning. He gave her a house, shops, helped her so much. He must have had ulterior motives. Maybe they were already involved when Jacob was still alive. Rumors, there is no dirtiest, only dirtier. Some said Lily was like a piece of sticky plaster. Once she latched on, you couldn't get rid of her. Alexander deserved it. He was a willing fool, and now he was stuck. His good wife was gone. Others envied Lily. She was beautiful. One man died, and another immediately took his place, and each one was more handsome than the last. Lily was a smart woman. She had found a good home. This was what everyone thought. But only Lily knew that she had endured not having a proper wedding. After all, it had been less than a year since Jacob's death. She had endured being a concubine. After all, she was the only woman in the house. She believed she would eventually be the main wife. She had endured the gossip. After all, she was their mistress. But she had never expected that Alexander would make her live with him in this small courtyard. Alexander had no money left. He had given all his shops and houses to me, leaving only 3,000 taels. A furious Lily came to find me. She demanded I return the family's possessions. I nodded with a half-smile. Are you going to return what he gave you to me, Lily? You are such a good person. Lily was so angry she could barely breathe. She screamed, How can you be so shameless? My expression was flat. While I still consider you a person, don't push your luck. Lily was stunned. I had never spoken to her harshly before. Even when she had provoked me time and time again. Even when I had lost my child. I had never said a harsh word to her. She probably thought I was easy to manipulate. Why the change? Lily didn't know that all the decency I had shown her was out of respect for Jacob. She was his widow. The mother of his only child. The dead deserve respect. Not just me, but everyone else too. The people who would associate with her, the people who would help her, all did so because of Jacob, including Alexander. Everyone had changed. The ladies who used to invite her for flowers and tea, for shopping, had all cut ties with her. When Lily, furious, demanded to know why, one of them said, We invited you because we were afraid you would be sad. Now it seems you are quite happy. More importantly, we do not associate with someone who has willingly become a concubine. Lily was ashamed and angry, but there was nothing she could do. The jewelry store she frequented refused her entry. She asked why. The shopkeeper just laughed. Have your Alexander open one for you. He is not short of a few taels. Lily was so angry she told Alexander, hoping for some comfort. But he said, They are Jacob's friends, not your friends. How heartbreaking. Without Jacob, she didn't even have any friends. No, she still had Alexander. He was the best person to her in the world right now. No worse than Jacob. He was an imperial physician, made enough money, but Alexander had changed too. She wanted to move back to her old house. He refused. That is Jacob's house. You should sell it and use the money to raise Nico properly. Lily's eyes widened. Why should I sell it? Because that is Jacob's house, not my house. Lily was furious. She locked herself in her room, hoping he would come and comfort her, as he had many times before. But he didn't. Not only did he not come, but when Nico got sick, he didn't even come to see him, just sent for a doctor. She said she wanted his personally bought pear pastries. He just sent her maid to buy them. Nico said he liked the little toys he made. He just had a servant buy them from a shop. It wasn't like this before. Lily was on the verge of tears. Alexander used to help her with her diet, and would even occasionally cook for her. He was so involved with Nico, as if he were his own son. Alexander had said, Whenever I have time, I'll come and help with Nico's studies. Now, she never saw him. Lily confronted him. Alexander rubbed his brow wearily. At that time, I was just afraid that you, in your grief over Jacob's sudden death, would neglect your health. Lily had a knack for ignoring what she didn't want to hear. So, you are not afraid I'll be sad now? Alexander looked at her strangely. If you were truly sad, why were you so eager to climb into my bed? The life she was living now was the one she had fought for. But because she didn't know how to manage the household, he was angry. Because she didn't know how to tutor Nico, he was angry. Because she wanted to manage the shops herself and lost money, he was angry. Because she often bought things on credit, he was angry. But it was all his fault. He used to do all these things. He was the one who was supposed to take care of her and Nico. Now he had just abandoned his responsibilities. Was it her fault for spending a little more money? Was she supposed to do it? She didn't know how. Lily decided to teach him a lesson. She went to the countryside to relax. She ate, drank, and had a good time. One day, she was stunned. She went back to find Alexander and asked him for money. He said coldly, There is none. What do you mean, there is none? It means there is no money. She didn't believe him. You won't even give me money to use anymore, Alexander. How can you be like this? But he was expressionless. I have no money. I don't believe you. Alexander sneered. I am just an ordinary imperial physician. Why do you think I have a fortune for you to squander? But you used to. Alexander cut her off. Because I had Grace then. She could manage the household. What can you do? Nothing! Lily had never been spoken to like this. She screamed, "I want a divorce!" But he just took out a letter of dismissal. "You are a concubine. You can only get a letter of dismissal. Sign it." She had just been saying it. How could she leave him? Who else could she go to? She was just trying to get him to give her money. Seeing his attitude, she was terrified. She could only grit her teeth and say, "You promised Jacob you would take care of me for the rest of my life." When she was desperate, she would cry. He used to be so afraid of her tears. Now he was expressionless, even a little scrutinizing. Then he murmured, "She must have felt the same way when I refused to agree." Lily didn't know what he was talking about, and she didn't want to know. She was so sad. She felt her heart had been misplaced. So Alexander was just like that after all. She wanted to find me. She wanted to tell me she was wrong, that she shouldn't have trusted a man, especially Alexander. She wanted to say he was a big liar. He had made all these promises, and now everything had changed. She wanted to say she was going to find someone else. With her beauty, she would surely find someone better than him, someone who at least wouldn't refuse to give her money. She thought I would be able to empathize with her. She wanted to say to me, "Grace, I am giving him back to you." She thought I would be grateful. After all, she had caused me to lose my child and had stolen my husband. But when she arrived at my estate, the guards wouldn't let her in. She looked up, bewildered, and for the first time, felt as if she had been slapped in the face. Alexander and Lily's relationship only lasted for 6 months. Later, she found a rich merchant who had come to the capital to do business. She eagerly took the letter of dismissal from Alexander and ran off with him, not even taking her child. But she didn't know that the rich merchant was a fake, hired by Alexander to trick her into leaving. By the time she found out, it was too late. Alexander couldn't take care of Nico. He didn't even know if he should. He hired a famous tutor for him and had him live with the tutor. His original intention was just to compensate. Alexander drank jar after jar of wine, replaying every moment of his time with Lily, trying to figure out where things had gone wrong. Was it the first time he helped her, afraid she would struggle? Or the first time he cooked for her? Or the first time he neglected me for her? Or even, was it wrong from the very beginning, when he bought her a house and gave her money? One wrong step, and every step after was wrong. Too late for regrets.